kodwa ke nasingekho ngalamaqhawe amathathu dimension ngabom imbali yona sithathe i-context i-role lamaqabane ngoba abatata lamaqabane akhokela umzabalazo ngexesha elinzima kakhulu in our history. Basiyokubakwanaiza be-underground kungelula kungayikhwaza i-African National Congress idiscipline yawo yokukhokela yakwazi under those difficult conditions bantu besifa nje benisiva apha amagama osizwe kondini mhlawumbi alebalekile ooGriffiths Mxenge balebelekile abaseCradle kodwa ngamagama onke lawo ebeziinkokheli zisebenza kwiimeko ezinzima zincama ubomi babo. Lo mbutho esinguwo waphakama kwezo meko. Namhlanje akho mabhulu sisodwa kodwa siyazitheza siphikisana neemfundiso zezizukulwana ebeziphethe nomzabalazo. Amandla esinawo ukwenza inguqu ukuze umntu omnyama aphume kule meko azibhaqayo kuyo. Sizenza intsasa endaweni yokuzixokelela sibe yinyanga sikhetha uba zintsasa. Xa sithetha ngamadala afana nala kumele sazi ngenza ukuba wena uba unesazela uphakame uyokwenza indima yakho endimeni unqande le nto esiphambene esenza iyo namhlanje ucinga uba umzabalazo ngowabo abangaphakathi kumbutho wesizwe kanti umzabalazo ngowabantu. ii-50s zisifundisa loo nto ukuba xa usithi ulilungu le-African National Congress, xa usithi uyikheida yombutho wesizwe, xa usithi ulisebe le-African National Congress, kumele uba uphethe ii-programs ezijongene nabantu njengabatata babe-organiza iipepho besilwa iimeko zokuhlala. Namhlanje sasithetha ngeesampo nje ngabatata abasikalela umlo wokulwa ngokwasekuhlaleni bewenze wayinxalenye nomzabalazo wabantu ngokubanzi. Sidinga iisampo eziphilileyo namhlanje. Sizibhaqa namhlanje kusithiwa khawukwikheyibhuli uzibuza uba iphini isampo. Sasinamabutho ngezolo, aphile amabutho ngamaphara atheni la asiphethe ngehlobo. Ngabantwana batheni abasingakwazi ubanqanda. Sithi singamadoda singoomama ngabantwana bethu. Sifuna ukwenzelwa ngomnye umntu sikhala namapolisa le nto nyala bayenza. Nguwe one-information ngale nto yenza le nto. Awuyiripoti sibone singumuntu njengoba abatata besenza ngela xesha ngoba ikhona naqalile yayikhona nangoko kodwa yayikhontrolwa under very difficult conditions zabazilukheni zethu. Kutheni namhlanje singakwazi uba nee-programs ezincedisana nobomi babantu? Namhlanje kuthiwa sishekelwe ziiveki zintathu amanzi aphele ebhayi. Uzibuza uba ziphi ii-campaigns zikamasipala nombutho wesizwe eziye ebantwini zichazela abantu uba ukuba sidlala ngamanzi siyazibona uba kunee-leakages asiziripoti zizolungiswa. In 3 weeks time sabe singenamanzi okuhlamba, awokusela, okubheka etoilet, okupheka. These are things abatata bephakama bezenzela uluntu, bemobiliza uluntu, balufundisa baphakamani bantu niyovulwela. Umzabalazo awutshintshanga ngosekube siphethe urhulumente namhlanje. Abantu must not allow to be demobilized. We need to mobilize ourselves and assist the government in the challenges ezikhona. Singabukeli sifuna ukwenzela. Ingqondo sisenayo, izandla sisenazo, imilenze sinayo. Akho sizathu bantwana bam ningaziboni nani ningoMandela. Uba ezi zibhanqa zisithi ziphambene, yizani nizosidudula, yizani kodwa ngendlela nisidudule nakhe esi sizwe. Ndiyavuya xa ndilibona ngoba ixesha labanye bethu lifutshane, nina nexesha elide. Yi-future yenu nekudlalwa ngayo, ningayivumeli nikhona kudlalwe nge-future yenu. Zi-organizeni kungadlalwa nge-future yenu. Andithi lidela abantu abadala, ndithi yenzani izinto ngendlela eyiyo, nincede esi sizwe siphambene ngoku, silwa sodwa. Umntu uphethe umpu, kugcwele umntu phakathi embuthweni, sidubula nasesawodwa. Ubumpimpi mosilonto. Uhlale endlini yakho uplane ubane kwesasitulo ndizambulela kwesasitulo sifanele mna. Awuthengisi xa usenza njalo, uvume uthengwe ngemali. Ube yipati ye-faction. Uzenze isithunzela somnye umntu, kanti inkuleko yintoni? Inkuleko kaloku ifana uba ungumntu okwazi uzicingela nokwazi uziwela. Ungavumi ukulandela onye umntu ekusayeliweni. Masiphakameni bantakwethu, simanyaneni. I-poverty ayizuziphelela, umzabalazo awukapheli. U-1994 was simply a mark on the path forward to liberation. U-1994 has got no business demobilizing. U-1994 usinike ipalamente, akasinikanga umnotho. Until we control the resources, asikafike enkulokweni. Thina sifunde under i-grant education. Nina nganemfundo enifumanayo namhlanje, khanizame niqinisekise uba nifumana izakhono ezizizo ezakwazi ukwakha umnotho weli lizwe. Kuyekwe umthetho nge-unemployment. Kugcwele ezilokishini zethu abantu abasuka ngaphandle. Iibhizinesi zabantu balapha ziphantsi kwabantu basuka ngaphandle. Ngathi thina asenangqondo yokwazi ukurana ibhizinesi. Laa mali ke bayenzeka bayithatha bayisela wabo. Andithi masibakhuphele ngaphandle, andilwanga nabo, kodwa andiyithandi into yoba ndibone thina sithi silambile. The next indlela siphila ngayo kukurobha nokutsotsa nakasawodwa. Zikhona iindlela zokuphila ezinzile bantwana bam, ungakhange uyorobha omnye umntu. And this scholar, njengoba sikusiva laa tata is over 70. Laa tata kuthiwa uDr. So-and-so namhlanje uyenza imfundo. Akuthi mna ndimdala for imfundo ngoku. Ufunda ude uyobhubha. Masifundeni laa tata, silandela umzekelo siva ngalaa tata uthetha phaa. ISouth Africa namhlanje asisayilweni ngemipu, ngeli xesha lethu iphathi imipu. Nina ngoku sisikolo, imipu yenu ukufunda nifumane isakhono sokwazi ukwakha umnotho, nizokwazi ukuphatha norhulumente. Sibhatyaza nje party, maybe it's because of laa bad education sasifumene. Khanizosincedisa ke nisikhuphe kule nyunyu esizifake kuyo. Siyenzile ngosekunexeni indima yethu. Sidinga ulutsha luze ngendlela. Lungakhaba abadala bakhuphele ngaphandle. Omdala nomncinci bayibambe bayise phambili. Omdala nikeze ibheyitoni arhuple omncinci abheke phambili. Enkosi.
Mandla awethu bona njengoba sisiya kutreasurer we-ANC kunokusikela ndimndedwa neprogram ngokusikela ke imizuzu emithathu njengeqala le-SACP. Comrade uVuyani Limba, whom we refer to as Umbona, iqala le-SACP. Over to you, Mbona.
Mandla. Program Director, allow me to greet families of comrades that will commemorate their lives today. Let me declare upfront that as SACP leader, I stepped down for 2017. Ungathiwa ndithethela umbutho. Kumasebe Communist Party akhoyo apha today. No. I stepped down. These comrades represented special leadership in our struggle. All their families today must know that these departed comrades never sold out. You must be proud of them. Allow me, Comrade Program Director, to state up front that all during the era of these matters, none of us knew in our country who is a communist and who is not. And this man talk, did Upratos real communist? None amongst us knew who was a communist or not. But the struggles that were waged by these comrades was the struggle of the working class. And the Communist Party is a vanguard movement of the working class. Ipso facto, these comrades were communists. What needs to be done? Firstly, let me commend Amakal Foundation for bringing these lectures time and again in order to remind us where we're coming from. Well done, comrades. What needs to be done? SACP makes a clarion call to organizations which belong to Congress movement to come together and revive our structures, to reclaim the lost ground by mobilizing our people to vote for the ANC for the sake of these matters. We have lost power. Let's work tirelessly to get rid of factionalism in our organizations equally. We have there is no factionalism in Sango. There is no factionalism in Sango. All our organizations equally are ready with factions. Let's get rid of those factions because they destroy us. Let's clean our organizations of corrupt elements because corruption is what these comrades fought against. But the corruption, it's a school. ANC leadership, President Comrade Babalo, must compel all councillors to account to their constituencies to enhance service delivery. People are not voting for this not because they like to. It's because our councillors do not account to the constituencies. Manda, Belele Masachet.
Kwesithuba our own comrade Mpumelelo Bond Nyoka, the term of the money program, we have done solidarity messages. Ngoku siya kwinkumsho ethi panel of speakers. Why Kwezilomso Lena that is different to other speakers? The speakers up to the one Esoifumana with ANC are giving messages of support. Kulo msebenzi wokukhumbula abatata kuthethwa ngabo. We're taking nothing from those speakers on their relevancy to and their closeness or distance to the Congress. And those in the panel, bathetha ncakasane ngokukwazi kwabo abatata bazawuthetha ngabo. Of particular importance for Janet and Bond is the work they did between 1996-97 under Truth and Reconciliation Commission ngokuphanda okwenzekayo okanye ngokusabela okwenzekayo kula maqabane ngo-1985 when they were abducted in May 8th, 1985. That's what is distinct to those that were speaking under solidarity messages and those that are about to speak under the panel of speakers. You will recall on the 25th of April, we had a similar approach where Tanga and other comrades spoke of Sphiwo as they know and worked with him. So they were talking under the panel of speakers. So that as part of social studies, if at all, that subject is called as such, nibe neyifumana le balanced ntetho also from those comrades. Hence, necessarily you are brought in to grace this occasion. We surely have to acknowledge at this point, as I'm about to make this amend to bring in Bond, Comrade Kusta Utatumkuseni Jack, who's also here, and the regional chairperson of the African National Congress in the Nelson Mandela region. And all other comrades that I've just seen slowly trickling in, bengena kulomsitho ondiliseke ngolhlobo. Comrades, you are welcomed. Nawe kunase phakathi kamabutho, you are acknowledged. Ubile pha kla unit yakho yakwa safety wazoba phakathi kwethu. Into enkulu leyo wena. You can't be faulted ngenxa yaloo nto, I am sure. At this point, Comrade Bond, sondela nganeno ze after original chairperson we-ANC enzela amazwi e-support and the comrades in the panel, who are basically two, will do the rest. Amandla!
Molweni, family yaka Godolozi, Kalela and Asha, and all the guests, members of the ANC and the Tripartite Alliance. I must state up front that I'm going to break one of the key rules of public speaking. I'm going to be reading from the speech because I'm coming from cold of Friday. There was no time to rest. Right now I'm from court. I've been going in and out of court. I get well in the evening, in the morning, then I must go to court. The air condition is so cold. So now I didn't have the opportunity of reading my speech. The good thing is that when Zoe invited me, I prepared last weekend and finished. But I didn't have the opportunity of reading it. The advantage of early preparation is to cater for any contingencies like sickness. So if I don't have enough eye contact, bear with me. After here, I'm going to go to continue my medication. I did ask a program director that he can start with me so that I can, after finishing, I'll stay for 5 minutes and go straight to bed. Thank you. In 1973, the United Nations declared apartheid a crime against humanity. It also declared inhuman acts resulting from it as also crimes violating the principles of the United Nations Charter, and also crimes constituting a serious threat to international peace and security. In short, the United Nations was saying apartheid was not only of local concern, but also of international concern and rejection. And it too recognized that apartheid could only survive by the inhuman acts emanating from its policies and practices. The barbaric deeds of 8 May 1985 were an inhuman act amongst a catalogue of other inhuman acts of 1985. Alone, these include the following. On the 13th of February, in Botswana, the House of Exile, Ned Serache, was blown up. On the 14th of May 1985, Botswana, Gaborone, a car bomb kills exile Vernon Katimen. On the 1st of July 1985, Zambia, Lusaka ANC headquarters were bombed. 1st of July 1985. On the In August 1985, COSAS was banned. And lastly, amongst them, in June 1985, the assassination of the Cradle 4. All these barbaric acts were the last kicks of a dying horse of apartheid, in vain application of its so-called total onslaught campaign on all fronts here and outside South Africa to stem the growing and unstoppable tide of majority rule and non-racial democracy. The Truth and Reconciliation process was a logical follow-up to the negotiated settlement process. It sought to heal the divisions of the past and to enable the perpetrators of inhuman acts to come forward and to make full disclosures about their acts, and also to show that their actions were politically motivated without going to the borders, beyond the borders of criminality, in order to get amnesty from criminal prosecution. In the current matter, apartheid security officers or the applicants failed to make a full disclosure or that their actions were politically motivated. That is, their actions were adjudged as plainly criminal, that is, kidnapping and murder, and therefore amnesty was denied to all of them. It was a singular honor to represent the victims' families in opposing this application, I must say so. It was a double honor in succeeding to oppose it. And just being part of the DRC process was and is the highlight of my life. I never personally interacted with the three leaders before, not going to claim easy victories or tell lies. I never personally interacted with three leaders, but I got to interact with them during the process on two counts. First, through their families, and second, spiritual with them. I became the voice of the voiceless. It was them, not me, who said I must pose the questions, which included the following. You tormented us and scoffed us when you said we'll be free one day, yet you were now the ones tormented with questions using the very freedom you scoffed at. We told you that even if you killed us, there were other patriots who would pick up the spear. 3, you did not enjoy your limited freedom under apartheid. And still, you were not enjoying this full freedom because you applied for amnesty just to escape criminal prosecution and still do not believe in reconciliation. You don't believe in majority rule, you don't believe in non-racial democracy. In terms of the law, in Section 18 of the Criminal Procedure Act, a right to institute criminal prosecution prescribes or expires after a period of 20 years from the time when it was committed, except for crimes like murder, treason, robbery, with aggravating circumstances, kidnapping, rape, child molesting, genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and human trafficking. That is why I started with crimes against humanity. And since the perpetrators were denied amnesty, they could still be criminally prosecuted 37 years later because their inhuman acts of murder, kidnapping, and you also add crimes against humanity, fall outside the prescription or expiry period of 20 years. The delay in prosecution has the following two disadvantages. The perpetrators are passing on, therefore cannot answer for their deeds. Number 2, the witnesses as well. 3, the evidence is being compromised to some extent. If the state, however, fails or refuses to prosecute, then the families can invoke private prosecution, that is, prosecute them themselves, if they get a certificate of no prosecution from the Director of Public Prosecution. But if the state in writing says or said they will prosecute, but fails to do so, then the families will apply to court to force the state to perform its functions by an application called mandamus. I must state there is no obligation for the DPP to prosecute anyone, but if you commit yourself in writing that I'm going to do it, then a person can apply to court to force them to apply. In conclusion, whatever the criticism may be about the TRC process, its glorious beauty was the perpetrators having to account to the families and the South African public at large in full view of television. After the regime finally gave up only 5 years after this dastardly act, I saw hardened
unemotional killers in them when we were sitting opposite me. And I must confess publicly that every time before I started my vehicle in the morning to go to attend TRC hearings, I feared a carbon explosion to highlight the suspicion of dirty tricks on their part, still lingering after democracy. I used to fear before I started the vehicle. They did not know that nothing ever remains secret forever. They did not know that evil power does not last forever. Some of the TRC judges subsequently became constitutional court judges. Judge Bernard Wepe, Sisi Kampempe, before whom it was a rare honor to appear. My three leaders, I'm directing them to them spiritually now. The monument of liberation is not perfect. 28 years after 1994, it has battered doors and cracked windows of a weekly load shedding. Factionalism is becoming a permanent feature in your beloved organization. The streets that you led with pride are now characterized by cable thefts, break-ins, and killings of leaders in politics and business. The local leadership that you left behind is rarely to be found in the union buildings or in Bishop. Where the defiance campaign was launched here in the presence of our Tambo at Mloteni. Why should they not be recognized by someone at union buildings or at Bishop? Was Omre the last leader or Google the last leader? I leave it there. What message of reconciliation was passed by a mother to her toddler in 2003, 7 years after the TRC process, if a child could call another fellow child, now as a boy, a 19 boy, and urinating on his precious laptop and books, hard-earned books. He was being breakfast with milk, the sour milk of racism and white supremacy. But as we defeated the apartheid monster with hope and action, we shall repair the battered doors and cracked windows with hope and action as well. Your deeds and names will never be forgotten. If you can be nauseatingly reminded in history books of Pete Retief's 1836 Great Trek, running from limited freedom of the oppressed of the times and the freedom of slaves, why cannot we be reminded of your gallant martyrdom in current history books? Why cannot the local council observe a moment of silence in your honor before it starts its business, whether it's ANC or DA that leads, a moment of silence every time it seems, so that your names are etched in the hearts of every South African. I don't trust these generations won't forget you. Please guide us with your unblemished wisdom from the spiritual realm where you are, and never give up on us as you seem to be messing up this country and trashing your dreams, because after all is said and done, there are still good men and women across the racial line who will hold things together, true patriots, through thick and thin, simply because history is full of examples where good always triumphs over evil. This freedom for us too was never free after all. Thank you.
Are we worthy of being called the offspring of that committed leadership of the three giants? That's what Trevor True, Professor Rensbeck, asked of us. And now Bond is reinforcing exactly that. At this point, we are to get into the panel, which we have said they have an intimate, close relation with that leadership, with those giants that we are commemorating now. Ukomri Kola Makapela will be setting the scene as he was the leader the same time the comrades were in the leadership of IPECO. Uzawuza ke asisetele isini comrade Kapi. Amanda!
Andisibulisele kuninonke apha endlini. A special greetings to the families of the Pepotri, the family Yagakotolozi, the family Yagwahashe, the family Yagakalera. Abahlobo bami abakhulu. We used to work, or I used to work very closely with those comrades, together with the comrade Umanas, our former Secretary General. I'm going to cover more the untold, what we call the untold history, of exactly what happened. Before the Libane, I think there are need about the the former leaders. The funeral kakeke ngava kuthiwa ikhosa sendala. Zokhahlela ke leaders ze-MDM, that is i-Xhosas, i-PEICO, neze-PEPCO esibesengishilo uComrade Umanase apha. Ndiphinde ke ndikhahlele nezikandlonkulu ezikhokhelwe nguComrade Babala namagqala. I think ndikhabatshe yonke into because ke sendikuzilibala ezinye because noko sendinesikhathi ndingekho kwi-politics. Ndashiya ngela xesha kusekumnandi kungekabikho ezi conspiracies and all that kind of stuff. Now, I think what is important here, comrades, comrades have already alluded to know why we are here. But it's important that we know what has happened, what made the system, what the updated these comrades and finally killed them. I'm going to cover the period between 80 and 85. Because it was a time when things were bad in Port Elizabeth, or Kadeha, whatever you call it. And then before that, as we all know, the Benishoi organization about black consciousness, about 1977, people were sent to jail and all that. That's not the period that I'm going to cover because at that time I was still young. I'm telling you about Israel. But on this particular one, I was involved with this particular committee that we are talking about today. I met them around 1981 to Comrade Umanase. And then at that time, we were serving PEPCO, which was then called the Sakeda Residents Association. The association that was established immediately after the residents, after the Jude Residents Association, which was started by our comrade Utozamile Boata, or Dr. Boata. I will leave that to comrade Pratos because it belonged to leadership just immediately after they were banned. I think it's important that after these comrades were banned, we're talking about Comrade Utozi, Uchume, Keke, Professor Bani Bitana, and so on and so on. There was a lull here, for such a long time, whereby people were so scared to go to in meetings at them. And then I remember we used to talk to his Dulo, and then people were harassed when the system heard about our meetings. They will go to meetings before people buy it, and then take photos of the people going to the meetings. So it was really a challenging and a terrible situation. And then air calls would be difficult for the people to grow. Around 81, myself and Comrade Manasseh, coming from the funeral of Utrefis Ntenga, the lawyer that was killed in Devon, we attended another funeral that was here in Bilini Road. That's where, actually in that funeral, I was asked by PEPCO to speak there on behalf of the PEPCO. And then there was a gentleman sitting there in that funeral, you know, in the Fagamazawat. So when I finished talking there, you know, this colleague, and then we told good who we are, who we were. Yeah, offered to drop us, you know, at Ostalako. And then he started with Manasseh, and then what drop. And then from there, he invited me to his house. He was finally able to know who Comrade was, right? Comrade, we started engaging now on issues or challenges that were faced by IPECO at that time. As I've already mentioned, it was very difficult for us to call meetings. If we fly meetings with the Holo in the food, we must call Desmond Tutu or Dr. Motlan, and then people will come. I remember one day we made a mistake at Secondary Hall, whereby we made Bishop Tutu the first speaker, and then we spoke after him. And then people follow Bishop Tutu. And then we had to stop the meeting without, you know, passing over the message that we were supposed to pass to the people. So it was a situation like that. And then who actually listened to all these things, you know, because after he dropped me at home, I came to his house, and then he started engaging us, telling us about the ANC. That was around 1981. I was not a member of the ANC at that time. I was a member of Port Elizabeth Black Civic Organization. I joined the ANC in 1983, formally, when I went to prison. I want to tell you guys where the actual problem started. You know, when all community operators were banned, things were very tough. The banning orders of that time were very tough. It was very difficult to move. We used to go to them, but we would go to the gate and talk to them on the gate on issues that were affecting them. Now, operators get left, and then that thing caused a lot of problems for us. Because this special branch at that time, they were trying by all means to link IPECO and the ANC. The motive behind was to ban IPECO, right? And then we didn't do that, so we always denied, we don't know why. I mean, that we don't have any links with the ANC. But the question will be, from these special branch, and then why your president has decided to join the ANC? And then my answer will be, I was not involved in IPECO at that time, so I don't know. But immediately after that, our General Secretary, Ukomi Dusandle Manasseh, left. And then his special branch came back to say, no, look, your General Secretary left and then he joined the ANC, Utini. So, Sibebu Spotlight as a civic movement because of these two Congress. Because we had to defend our track record. Look, China, it's more about the bread and butter issues, the lights and so on and so on and so on. The challenges that were faced by the people of Mazagere, as you know, the bucket system and electricity, which was not there, and then Oma, forced removals, New Brighton, abantu babehlala shaking ngebatona, uclever. I'm sure it's siyakhumbula. Sasibethanda ukuthi ngabe New Bright kuthiwe ngamkonto zakhe jikela because indlu abahlala kuzo zincane. Icango livalwe yi-wallbet. And then you go to places like this region where they had Ezaboi challenges. So together, all those churches were put together for Fonisa. Now, now coming quickly, because I'm just looking at the time, because I don't want people to leave in history. That interaction between ourselves and the combatants, and myself in particular, it was a question of how do we take the paper to the next level? How do we get a man to Basmamere? Because we're seen now as the people that were aloof. People were not listening to us. Not because they didn't want us, but the issue was the harassment from the system at that time, right? And then when I was telling Washa about all these challenges, all I find out Comrade Ashe is talking to some people that I don't know about these matters. When I go to his house, Comrade Ashe will leave me sitting there at his going somewhere to listen to his phone. Now, a question that I was asking myself, Comrade, why mommy the phone? There's a phone here. Engineering. And then they go, maybe this phone I said it. But this phone rang the other day. The wife was busy going somewhere to listen to a phone call, right? The second day, Pinda and the electric, after we back, I told him, no. You know what, Makapela, I was talking to my doctor, no mama. Do you know no mama? He did no. And the mass, because no mama, they are before us, right? Until, I was talking to no mama and so on and so on. And then, where's called Zaki? When you into the two is a start when you said that. What is cat is missing, and then the flag. And then I will sit down and read papers. To fast forward this thing. This day, just before the Marcelo raid, Ati Masame together to any is called Zaki. Zababandu, which I don't know who they are. This day, Comrade said, my feet are a telephone, Ati, this comrade. I'm waiting for Kenya for here. And then he was referring to PEPCO, because the PEPCO, as you know, the formation was BC inclined because Black consciousness was the dominant ideology at that time. That's why you find there were links between us about Keti Sigondo and so on. So it was an ideology that was dominating at that time. Hence, the PEPCO was saying the membership there is open to blacks only. Right? Now, this is the thing that Ashe was trying slowly to address with us. Good guys, we have to embrace Indo-Enan And then I said to him, no, Comrade H, theoretically, yes, but already practically we are doing that. And then there's no hurry. Okay? Now, in this phone call, I greeted these comrades and then I told them who am I and then what I'm doing. But, Pepco got told me water. And Siambona caused a water here. Right? And then the second call, I also went to that second call where I had to explain the same thing that I used to explain to Comrade Ashe about our challenges. We can't grow. People can't go to meetings. There's too much harassment from this special branch. Zita is Comrade Uti, how about? Nothing to this. Zita, how about? Because during our days, we used to have what we called the M plan. Yeah? And then, but Nina, you might not call the M plan. You must find another name because it's a harass. But I explained how he had M plan worked, and then which resulted into us setting up institute committees. Now, where we are today, at the church, because we set an plan, planning would how do we take this thing to another level? How do we implement the M plan, which we called it Institute and other committees, which was going to make us closer to the people, right? Now, we debated this thing for about a year, and then we decided, you know what? Let's just forget about all this ideology, because people of the Port Elizabeth, they don't want ideology, and they're not going to eat ideology. All that they want to see these things happening. They want to see their streets lighting, they want to see their houses with flashing toilets and all that kind of stuff. So let's put aside this whole thing of ideology and call all organizations, irrespective of the political affiliation in the house. And then Oliver was our Secretary General at that time. He drafted a letter which we sent it to all formations in Port Elizabeth, because remember, Port Elizabeth Black Civic Organization was the mother body of all other formations in the absence of the UDF, right? That's a fact. Because when the call came of making South Africa ungovernable, it must go somewhere. So there was no way that it could work without us setting up those structures. So we introduced a program here at the church, presented by Comrade Oliver. Now, that meeting delayed because there were issues around the parties that they didn't want to come together. For an example, in Makosa, we had to have some bilaterals in Makosa because it was refusing to sit in a meeting where there was Osaka. So, because of the issues, right? As we know that the other one was a registered and the other one was an unregistered one. Right? Now, in this period, guys, or comrades, sorry, politics, guys, comrades, after presenting this plan or this program, state and area committees, that meeting, which was attended by EPCOS, sport organizations, everybody in Port Elizabeth. Actually, it was even bigger than the UDF, right? The AAT process was inclusive of everyone, right? Because in the UDF, it was organizations that were more aligned to the left. In our situation, it was just everybody, churches and so on and so on. Now, when we presented this thing up, we decided, let's create a committee, which we then called East Cape Coordinating Committee, right? Which was a precursor to the UDF, which was launched around August in 1980. Now, we created a structure as a rotating of this East Cape Coordinating Committee. And then we decided, look, this committee must meet every 2 weeks. Now, we met here, and then because organizations that were there, they had to take this to their respective constituencies. That's why we felt, it must be a 3-week kind of a report back. Now, the last meeting of that committee, this is what I was trying to tell you, Rensbeck, that he's missing, for Iron. The last meeting of that committee, it was chaired by Ungano here at the church, and the secretary, it was Comrade Aaron Rensbeck from ICWASP, right? That was towards May 1983. Now, when we were busy with that, there was a call, let's form the UDF, Dr. Busa. And then comrades here were busy getting into what was called the One Signature campaign, and then UDF was launched in August in Cape Town. But going back a little bit, we didn't wait for that meeting, feedback. Myself and the comrade, Mabui, Faz, we started immediately going to the townships and they set up these area committees and street committees. Our first street committees, it was there in Kora, SVD, our committee Crazy, our committee Bon, followed by our committee Slatino Sweps. Those are our first street and area committees. And then you go to Soweto, we'll see at that time. You will find our committee Tanzi, I'm not going to finish that name. Our committee was the Masigis, but I would say Tanzi. So those are our committees in Soweto on sea, about Boys Farming, about Mtana, and later on, a new party, because unfortunately this time around, they were always behind the bus again, right? Now, as I said, a system, it started already by Comrade Tozamele Bota and Gile and about Comrade Manase. Each and everything is here. Now, this time around, if you will recall, there was a Wilson Round strike, right? And then whenever Comrade Comrade Ugweta came here, and other comrades, Sabo Tozi, I've just forgot the name. They came here and then they met with us at the airport to say, guys, Kunale situation in Wilson Round. During that period, because remember I said, IPEPCO was the leading organ on matters that were affecting the communities at that time. So you have to come to IPEPCO, if you want to implement your program, whether you are COSAS or whatever, because IPEPCO was taking everybody, because our team were just more concerned about the residents, right? But, you come from schools or Lalenjin, you come from workers or Lalenjin, and then you become a resident. Most of the time, it's Twitter agenda. Right? That's why, we were making sure that people, there's enough space so that people can study, people can rest, and so on and so on and so on. Now, the harassment is the committees, and then a call that was made at that time, let's make this sort of an government. I'm a Pulu, I believe no, this thing is going too far, right? And then when they started, I started on 1983 around September, when we had a bus boycott. Uputse, Peter Louis, the news in buses. And then at that time, because we had a challenge in resources, that's why the system could intercept the communication between ourselves. And then if whoever there's somebody that wants to meet with you guys, because they knew we don't have resources, because we were struggling. It was even difficult to pay for the one is for the meetings. It was not an easy thing. Even that meeting that we called, after we deadlocked, we took the tramways on, Udropa EP, Nansuga EP, bus fares. We had to get some resources so that we can call a meeting. So Imakosa was there for us at that time, because I remember they were sitting on me in terms of making sure that IPEPCO is calling a meeting so that it can challenge the decision that be some ways. That was around 1983. Now, the last time that I saw these comrades here that we're talking about, it was in 1983 during our trial. They were there in court. And then I've never seen them again, right? Now, what I'm trying to tell you here, to give you the reasons why these guys decided to eliminate them. Because we develop a tactics, up of system, you could know, look, there are two things. It's either we send you to jail or we kill you, those were the tendencies of any fascist state when it gets frustrated, when there are uprisings. The way they respond by killing people, detaining people, and so on. This is what was happening, right? And then at that time, they cognitive unfortunately, they were the leaders because this person in this speed so when there is wrong. Because this is what is happening today. We act people because this person is very good in this speed, so when there is wrong. So that was not the case at that time. We need to come up over, that's why you find the good thing. They prepared for 4 times because nobody often never a leader at that time. So, at the period of the community, we were working, as I said, we were working hand in hand with our sister organizations, like the ones that I've just mentioned now. Right? We were not in a paper that was sitting there. Right? So we had our own challenges, and then we had our own way of dealing with them. I remember part of fundraising for the paper, because we didn't have money. We came up with an idea of having a beauty competition, for the paper. And then IPEPCO was completely against us. I'm sorry, IPEPCO, we're talking about Abomtwabo, Bomi, Kusta, and so on. They came to us to say, no, look guys, not a beauty competition, not a paper beauty competition. And then The theatre did nice, but it was not nice at that time. It was not easy. The other issue that we had, when Makusa took a decision to change 21st of March, to make it Makanda's Day, right? Unfortunately, I was not in that meeting, Godolozi was in that meeting. And then when Wija came to my place, when they came to my place about this thing, I said, no, look guys, let's go to Godolozi because Godolozi is not far from my place. And then we find a way of convincing these guys, let's find another date, not this date, because this is a national day. Like, the theatre smart, but I can tell you it was not easy because those communities were very strong in their position, we were also very strong. But ultimately, we decided, they agreed with us, let's not take the 21st as the Makana. So we had those issues amongst ourselves, but it was so easy for us because of the maturity that was there, right, to manage all this and then put the interest of the people of Port Elizabeth first, right. Now that's why I became so worried when I see what is happening here, most particularly in that council, because this is our baby. As we know that part of our agenda was to have one city, one municipality. And people have died for that, like these comments, right? I don't understand really why we can't put our narrow, selfish interests aside and put interests of the people of Port Elizabeth first. Fighting the municipal manager and all that kind of stuff, because the problem is that everybody has got his own corruption, right? Corruption, there is no honor. There's no honor in corruption. Now, the problem is corruption. That's the only reason why we can't put the interests of the people of Port Elizabeth first, right? Playing games, people fought for it.